Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's event. My name is Ilhan Adan, and I go by she, her pronouns. And I am the outreach coordinator for the Maternal and Child Health Student Interest Group, MPHA this year. MPHA is a student-led organization that fosters engagement, collaboration, and learning opportunities for students who are passionate about maternal and child health. We aim to connect students with professionals and resources to inspire action and advocacy in public health. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speakers from the Minnesota Public Health Association, Mary Grande and Ellen Saliares. First, I'd like to introduce Mary Grande, who goes by she, her pronouns. She's the executive director of MPHA. Mary has been an active member of MPHA since 2012 and has served as a contract staff since 2017. She earned her Master's of Public Health Practice degree from the University of Massachusetts Amherst and holds a biology degree with an Asian Studies concentration from St. Olaf College. Growing up in a diverse Michigan community with a Midwestern mother and a North Indian father, Mary developed a profound appreciation for the strengths that different backgrounds bring to collaborative efforts. Mary brings her passion and expertise to a wide variety of public health topics, working with insightful and dedicated colleagues across the state. Next, I'd like to introduce Ellen Saliares, goes by she, her pronouns. Ellen is a past president and has current membership and communications co-chair of MPHA. She has also served as a co-chair of the MPHA Annual Conference Planning Committee twice. Ellen earned her MPH in Community Health Promotion from the University of Minnesota School of Public Health and holds a BA in Sociology with a concentration of Gender and Women's Studies from Grinnell College. Her professional work has centered around sexuality education and sexual and reproductive health and justice in both nonprofit government settings. So we're thrilled to have Mary and Ellen with us today to share their expertise and insights.
Thank you so much, Ilhan, for the introduction. We are very excited to be here with you all today to talk about our annual conference, as well as the request for proposals. You know, what you can expect, give you some guidance if you're thinking about it. And if you're not thinking about submitting something, this might give you some ideas. At MPHA, we start all of our events with our ancestral land statement, which was developed in partnership with our Health Equity Committee and community members. So I'm going to read that. We ask that you take a moment to honor and acknowledge that we are on the ancestral homelands of the Dakota and Anishinaabe. Indigenous people have a longstanding history and connection to the land since time immemorial and are the original stewards of lands and waters. Many American Indians were forcibly exiled from their lands because of aggressive and persistent settler colonialism and United States governmental policies, but they persevered. We make this acknowledgement to honor the Dakota and Anishinaabe people, ancestors and descendants, as well as the land itself. So we're going to start with a Mentimeter. And so we just kind of want to get a sense of if you've presented at a conference before, any conference, anywhere, like any time in your life. So we have a mix. We have a mix of folks who have and a mix of folks who haven't. Awesome. So we're going to share about our conference in general and then just some tips for presenting. All right. So first, I'm going to give a little bit of information about the Minnesota Public Health Association. Sometimes folks aren't as familiar with us, so I'm going to give just a little overview. And certainly feel free if you have questions about MPHA to put them in the chat, and we are happy to answer those as well. So this is a picture of Kristen Moore, who's our current president at the MPHA conference that recently happened in Minneapolis. MPHA is a volunteer-driven organization that represents like the broadest spectrum of community and health professionals. And we really focus on being a space where public health workers from multiple disciplines and sectors come together around shared values and goals in community. Mary as she was introduced, is our executive director, and we're also led by our governing council, which is elected members as well as committee co-chairs like myself. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we are the state affiliate of the American Public Health Association. We engage and develop our members to mobilize the community to protect and improve the public's health. Our mission is to create a healthier Minnesota through effective public health practice and engage citizens. And our core values are to inspire effective public health leadership by offering opportunities for enhancing learning skills and practice, to advocate for public health policy that is grounded in evidence and social justice principles, and ultimately to effectively impact public health in Minnesota. We are a statewide organization, and we can trace our roots back to 1907, so very long time, when health officers around the state organized as the Minnesota State Sanitary Conference, holding an annual spring meeting. This was in response to a state law that required the executive officer of the Minnesota Department of Health to hold a meeting at least annually. So we started kind of with that organizing and then became like a separate nonprofit as on our own. And we were recognized by MPHA as the state affiliate in 1948. So really throughout our history, MPHA has maintained a broad membership focused on a wide range of like timely relevant issues in Minnesota. And really the goal is to represent and reflect the public health community as well as the challenges and opportunities of the time. And why? You know, there's a need, I think, for active, independent voice for public health in Minnesota. And we're really, you know, I think honored to have the space to not only engage in supporting public health, but also the people doing the work together. So our annual conference, we have done an annual conference for decades. What you can see here are just some examples of our past themes and what we've done to give you a sense. Our conference, like our organization itself, really has a very broad audience. So we have folks attending, you know, who are community members, folks who are students, early career, you know, retired, mid-career, people working in all sorts of sectors. Our conference is planned by a committee, which, by the way, if you're interested, you are welcome to be on the committee. It's really fun. It's a group of folks who are members, you know, non-members, people who are just interested in being part of bringing people together to talk and learn about public health. So the committee is charged with coming up with the theme, you know, the location, putting together the program, all of the logistics. Yeah, it's pretty fun. As you heard, I've been a co-chair twice, served on the committee several times. Our conference is 2 days, or it might be kind of like a day and a half, and we hold them in different places around the state. This is the theme for our 2025 conference, which will be in May in Duluth, which is very exciting. But the theme is resilient communities, advancing health equity through collective action, policy, and partnerships. And the conference objectives are to discover public health challenges and successes and effective public health messaging, share strategies to advocate for and communicate the value of public health with examples of messages that have successfully guided increased health in communities, and nurture authentic relationships with partners for sustainable public health collaborations. I would say all of our conferences, at least that I've been a part of, and I've been part of MPHA since I was a student, so like 2013, so like 11 years, have really like centered and placed a lot of value on partnership and relationships with community. But I think this is especially a focus with this conference, as I'll talk about when I talk about what the committee is thinking about and looking for in terms of the program. Okay. All right. So, oops, this should move up. But all right, we're going to do another Mentimeter. So, how do you feel about presenting at conferences? a big part of the purpose of doing this info session is to kind of show you a little like behind the curtain of our conference and conference planning process, because at least in my experience, that for me is what feels like a really big barrier to submitting a proposal to conferences is like, does this even make sense? Right? Like, do I fit, with who the audience is, with the topics, all of that. So we're trying to kind of give you as much information and be transparent to make it, help you understand if it is or isn't something that is a good fit for you. These are pictures from our conference in 2024, which was this past spring, and it was held at St. Kate's in St. Paul. We have 3 types of presentations that we do at our conference. 2 of them are ones that people submit proposals to. Plenary, the one that's in the middle, is our only one that people don't submit to. The committee picks out, a speaker, or in this case, in the picture, a panel, and they speak usually at the start as an opening session, at the end of each day as a closing session. Sometimes we'll have folks do a lunch one as well. And that's, really where the committee is thinking about what they know from their experience and from others, in their professional network about topics that are really something that everybody should learn about. Posters here on the left are sessions where people come with their posters, and give a little elevator speech, share their information about their research or the work that they've been doing. So people can submit poster presentations. And then we also have concurrent or breakout sessions. I think I just have a habit of saying breakout session, so please, I'll try my best to not be confusing, and those are usually about an hour or so presentation that a single person or a group of people do, kind of sharing their information, fostering discussion, having people practice. So it's a difference, poster and concurrent sessions, the difference are in format and also like length of what somebody's like speaking is. And this year, we also, very excitingly, really want to encourage people to consider submitting artistic content. So sharing information, as a poster in that poster session of time or in a concurrent session. And I have an example here. So this is some photography that a student representative of our governing council, Rashawn Khatri, did about public health and public health issues in Minnesota. So he did some photography. So somebody could, submit this like as part of a poster session. People could have, other visual art, right? Like illustrations, murals. People also could have, theater, dance, a film, songs, that might fit within a breakout session. So we're pretty flexible in terms of like physical art to hang up. We would just need people to be able to hang or display or complete it in under an hour. We're really wanting to like support and celebrate that like knowledge and work in public health goes beyond kind of the traditional academic ways of sharing learning or teaching or like connecting with people about one's own wisdom and experience. So I just wanted to highlight that we, are really hoping to get some artistic content. Wanted to just give a sense of what a day is like in our conference, because that can be helpful too. So this is basically a simplified version of the first day of our 2024 conference. So you can see there was time for setup for posters. We had the poster session, so it ran from this whole 8:30 to 9:35, and people would come and talk. People who were presenting their posters would give their kind of elevator pitch or their talk, answer questions. We had the opening plenary, so everyone was together, then an hour for breakout sessions, lunch, and then 2 other chunks of time for breakout sessions as well, and then a closing plenary. This isn't, definitely what it's going to be like in 2025, but this is pretty much the format that we've had for for several years. So kind of a sense of time. So people who are presenting, are able to attend a lot of other content as well. All right, so now I'm going to talk in particular about the request for proposals process. So this is where people submit their information about what they would like to present for the conference. I'm looking at my notes, folks. The committee chooses the plenary speakers and then also reviews the proposals that we receive as a group and puts together, their proposals. And I'll go more into in a second the specific things that they are looking for. We always receive way more proposals than we have time for. So something that we do is we often offer people the opportunity to do like a separate webinar with us, or think about other ways that we still can like provide opportunities and space for people to have that professional development experience and the ability to kind of like disseminate what they're doing. Even if the conference isn't the space for that, we could probably have like a week-long conference, but that is outside our capacity. There are no requirements for like a degree or certification to present at the MPHA conference. We really appreciate having speakers and content from like the breadth and diversity of the field. Here's our timeline. So the committee tomorrow is going to finalize the RFP, the request for proposals. So that's going to open the end of this week. So you will very shortly hear about that. And it's open for about a month. So it's going to close on January 8th. In between that and the conference happening in May is when the committee will notify all people who submitted proposals, whether or not their proposal was accepted. And then there is that time for people to put together their presentations, practice, all of that stuff. Our RFP is submitted through a Google form. And so the things that are needed are, sharing about your presentation. So are you submitting for a poster? Are you submitting for a breakout session? What the title is, what the presentation description is. You'll have to provide some measurable learning objectives. We ask people to identify a topic from a list of public health topics, which helps us like categorize things in the overall program, information, about the presenters. It's totally fine to have more than one person present. We just ask for that information so we can send communications to everybody. And then when you're able to present, so what chunks of time work for you. The things you do not need is you do not need to submit like an actual poster. You don't have to submit, created slides, if you're doing something artistic. You don't have to do that. You have to just describe what it is. And I know that we definitely last year and probably years before have had folks share like, we're wrapping up this project. We're going to be presenting on the findings. Like this is what we're already seeing. So it's not like everything has been totally complete and they have everything set, but they know they will by the time the conference happens. We do ask for breakout presenters to send their slides in prior to the conference. And so contact information is really important for that. At times we have had folks submit for like a breakout concurrent session and the committee doesn't have, has filled up all the breakout session slots. So they might ask somebody if they're willing to have their presentation be a poster instead, or to shorten their presentation and like be part of like a multi session breakout session where like one person does their presentation, for half the time, someone does it for the other half of the time. It is totally up to the person if they want to do that. I know some people are flexible, some folks feel like, nope, they really want like a full hour to do that content. So it's really up to them. We're just limited by the amount of sessions that we have. And like I said, we really want to still do what we can to offer opportunities for people to still present in other ways, even if it's not in the conference. And we do keep a list of, content and focus. Last year, people connected with me as membership and communications to work on organizing some webinars and follow up with people about doing presentations at like committee meetings or things like that. Once we get all of the submissions, they're put into a like folder spreadsheet so we can see everything together. And then the committee works really hard to thoroughly review and put together a conference that reflects, public health in Minnesota, which is ginormous, as best we can. And so that really requires keeping in mind like a balance. So a balance of, types of organizations. We don't want it to be like just people from M.P.H or just people from whatever, St. Kate's. We want to have kind of some representation, as well as people in different points in their careers, people talking about different topics. So we look at submissions to kind of see, okay, what is the quality of this? Can we understand, what, learners will take away? Do we understand what the topic is? All of that. A balance of speakers, like I said, really thinking about the overall program, there's a theme. How does the content align with that? We think about, our previous conferences. So we might, if, we had a lot of presentations last year about, I don't know, fluoride in drinking water. We might think about like, well, we had a lot of fluoride in drinking water last year, so maybe we should go for a topic we haven't talked about yet. Yeah, looking at that. The applicability. So does this seem like information that people would be interested in, that people can use? And then this year's theme is really focused on the importance of creating space for community and collective action, as they are essential drivers of health equity and social justice. It recognizes community members and the power of lived experience in public health policy, practice, and interventions. And so we really want to think about how we can center community voices and fostering collaborative spaces and collaborative action. So the committee will also really be looking at presentations that are in partnership with community-based organizations or community members. That's not to say if somebody submits a proposal and there isn't, some community connection, it's totally a no. But we wanted to note that like that is something that's very central to the committee this year. And the theme is like, how are we working like in relationship with the whole system that's supporting health? So we're gonna do practice. We're gonna do a practice, or we're gonna have a discussion with a mock presentation description, and then we'll do a learning objective. So I have one that I totally made up. As far as I know, Repower is not a public health organization in Minnesota. So I'm just gonna read that, and then I would love to have a discussion with you all about your thoughts about it. So, founded in 1998, Repower's mission is to support youth health. Our presentation will cover the strategies to grow well-being in Minnesota through empowerment. Together with the community, we have successfully started data-driven initiatives with measurable results. So feel free to put your thoughts in the chat or come off mute if you want. But what are your immediate impressions? If you're looking through descriptions for breakout presentations and you see this, yeah, we don't get a sense of who who are the youth, like what aspects of health, right? Like what will they learn. Like, I don't really know what Repower does or where they work, or anything like that. Like, who would be able to use these strategies? So those are things that, would stand out to the committee. Like, it's kind of starting from a blank, to know what this is and what people would get from it. Learning objectives. So at the end of this poster session, participants will understand 3 key processes for launching and managing an effective COP, lead promising practices to understand engagement, sharing, and participation in the COP, understand ways that a COP can sustain itself, and know how to measure COP value. So again, what stands out to you? What are your thoughts about these learning objectives? Yeah, what is a COP exactly? Yeah, acronyms can be very, very challenging. We encourage people to think about, really how, like, SMART, if you're familiar with SMART goals, like how, like, specific, is it, how measurable, like how achievable, how realistic, maybe not the timely part, but so how realistic do these seem? Do these seem like things that people genuinely could get, from reading a poster and talking with someone doing that presentation?
Yeah, so with our continuing education credits, they really need to be measurable learning objectives. And we have had our committee volunteers have to sometimes work with the presenters to rewrite them so that they qualify. So that's why we're spending a little time on this to explain what are learning objectives and why are they important.
So we're going to go through just a few tips about doing presentations. But first, what are your presentation pet peeves? Monotonous. Yeah. Both probably in like tone. Like someone's tone, someone's volume, in the activities, the way that things are being shared, right? How things look. Yeah, reading off slides, right, is a big one. Vague, right? You're like, I chose to sit in this presentation and I am just not sure like if I know what's happening, if I should be here, if this makes sense. Yeah. Oh yeah, long-winded. Oh, lots of ums. Yeah, just like all over the place. Unorganized, no main point, convoluted, vague. Yeah. Yeah, no main points. Yeah, exactly. I agree with all of this. So you're pointing these things out, which mean you already have a sense of things that are helpful in presentations for engagement. Some things that we know from, our conference in particular, is people really benefit if they practice. People are busy, sometimes you like have to do things at the last minute. But running through things, especially if you're somebody who's worried about timing or you're worried about like talking too fast or you're just nervous in general, that preparation is really important. If you have any materials that you want to hand out, or if you want to have available, at a table, like having everything kind of prepared and organized, I find it helpful to think ahead of time what kind of questions I might anticipate hearing from people. So that I can think ahead of time of how I want to answer them, or if I don't know the answer. We'll ask you to send in slides for breakout presentations if you're using them. It is not required to use them by any means. And we will save them so they can be accessible, but we also really encourage people to have backups, like have it saved, like put it on a USB, things like that. I think flexibility. So my background, a lot of it was in teaching sex ed. I think flexibility is like one of the biggest things, like being adaptable and flexible. So like maybe just like plan on starting like a little bit late because people are coming in, or something weird is happening with technology because we can't control anything like that. Have time for questions, that kind of thing. So just kind of thinking flexibly about how you can engage people. Like you're planning for 15 people to come and all of a sudden there's like 40 people. How do you pivot, in ways to still engage people? Our audience is really broad. So there might be people attending who know very little or nothing about your topic, but they're just really interested. And there might also be people whose career is focused on it. Like, or you have a presentation and it's like a former commissioner of health comes. Like, just kind of think about the whole range of audience. And like, they're all there because they want to hear you and they care about what you're doing. We're going to talk a little bit more about like the design, and you all shared like disorganized slides, like things that are vague, like that is a big impact part of this as well. And I think that's also the type of presentation. If you can vary the activities, can you have people like write individually, do paired discussion, or do polls? Things like that can be really helpful for like the energy engagement of your presentation. With posters, huge things are just, I mean, a lot of it is the visuals, but I would say that's equal to you as the presenter and like the overall experience that you're providing. So we really encourage people to use plain language and avoid jargon because you don't know who might be coming in and asking questions. Incorporating good visuals that are easily like consumable and understandable for people. Having text that can be read like 3 to 5 feet away. Colors that make sense, clear fonts and layouts. If you can have interactive elements, like there's QR codes or there are ways for people to participate in what you're doing. At MPHA, I went to some posters where, they were like, we wrapped up our research, but like, we still want to hear what people think about, what was it, like Black youth mental health and what they know in their communities. Like scan this QR code and like share what you know in our kind of like ongoing survey, which I thought was really cool. Preparing your talking points. And I think it's especially hard in posters because you might like get started and someone comes in halfway. So thinking about, okay, like, how do I get started? How do I, engage people if they're coming in the middle or towards the end? Yeah, it's helpful to also think, I would say, a little bit outside like traditional academic communication that's focused on like scholarly audiences in our conference, because it's a wide range of people who come, and really thinking about how to have inclusive communication is important. And that's really what makes research impactful and like usable for people, is being able to connect to it. So a couple of tips from Teresa, who is one of our conference co-chairs and couldn't make it today, that I thought were helpful, is really thinking about how visual communication is so impactful in breakout sessions and like all aspects of our lives, not just posters. That it really can help transcend language barriers or like education barriers. Sometimes I see people like put up their like biostats stuff, and I'm just like, I know I have an MPH, but like there's a barrier for me right now. And it can simplify complex information. Visuals can improve that comprehension, and especially for diverse audiences, it's really meaningful, and it really, helps people by focusing on key messages and information. I have 2 examples of posters. I'm going to show you both, and then I'll just ask in the chat, or if you want to come off mute, to share kind of what you see as the differences or what your takeaways are. So first we have this one, which is a more traditional academic poster. And here we have what is a more community engaged or community focused poster.
I think for me, both of them have a lot of text. And if I go up to someone's poster and there's all these words on it, I'm more inclined to read it actually than listen to them speak about it. So I feel as though if that's your intention, where you want people to read your slide, then this is fine. But if you want more people to be engaged with what you're saying, having less words on the slide, on the poster, sorry, will
Yeah.
encourage people to look to you for more information about your project, which can boost engagement. But I think it really depends on what you want
Yes.
in your presentation. Do you want people to read it or do you want people to listen to you?
I am so glad that you brought that up. Yeah, it depends. And like, yeah, I am a like poster and audience member, I guess, who's like, I want to talk with people, right? At EPHA, when I went up to posters, some of them I like trying to start conversation and they were like, here's the poster to read, which is fine, right? They just, we're clear about that. I think that I'm so glad you brought that up, Ruth. Like having that, like what your goal is and your focus, like what you want that experience to be for people is really important as well. Yeah, awesome. Okay. I can move forward. Okay, so what is next? Think about, what you got going on, what you're passionate about, what might want to share, what you might want to submit. The RFP is going to be on our website and we can make sure that we share that announcement information with the folks who organize this event. We can send it to you too, Sarah. End of this week. We welcome like any and all questions, like feel free. Because this conference is about all of us, and everyone having opportunities to share and connect and learn from each other. This email admin@mpha.net is Mary's email. So that will go directly to her and we're happy to answer questions. Okay. No pressure. And we won't hold you to this because this is anonymous, but do you think you will submit a proposal? Definitely. Maybe. Don't think so. So 4 definitelys, 2 maybes, 1 don't think so. Totally fine. Okay. Final one. If you were to submit a proposal, let me move this thing. What type of proposal would it be? This is helpful as we think about like what other resources we might want to put together, or share with people to help them in their submission process. Cool. Let's do questions. And then we have just like a couple of closing slides as well. First, were there any questions from the chat, Mary, that you want to start with?
I do not see any questions in the chat
Okay.
right now, but feel free to come off of mute. While you're thinking about it, I can also share a couple more things about what we've done in previous conferences,
Yeah,
just for
please.
a little bit more reference. We hopefully will, it depends on our space and of course what we receive. But last year we were able to hold 2 poster sessions, which was really exciting. We doubled our, learning and the presenters that were able to participate. So I don't know, we will have to see if we can have 2 poster sessions again, but at least 1. And so that's a chance where you as poster presenters get to, as we saw in that picture, stand by your poster, talk about it. And typically they are left up, for the day. So if someone didn't get a chance to talk to you, they can still walk by later and see it. So things like your contact information or QR code, if people want to learn more about what you're presenting, and you're not standing right there, that's always helpful. I am hoping we will be able to do 16 breakouts again. Again, this is all subject to, what we're able to work out, but that's what we had last year. And then in case anyone was wondering about continuing education, a little bit more on that, the credits that we offer are for CPH, nursing, social work we did last year. And then a big one is CHES and MCHES, so Certified Health Education Specialist. So I'm not sure if, for students, if you are quite needing those, but just so you know, continuing education credits are a big reason why people, come to get their professional development at this conference.
Yeah. Okay, so we have two questions. So many students are working with an agency or community members. How should students make sure agency community members are involved in the proposal process? Yeah, such a good question. So I think there's a lot of different ways. I mean, I think it's everything from like seeing if somebody wants to like co-present or be part of like the whole process to, I would say, like getting feedback on, the description, the learning objectives, like providing, I guess this is maybe not the proposal process, but the presentation, like providing like quotes or testimonials or like images that they want to share. And I think certainly having somebody like they could look over and provide feedback as well are some ways. Asking, I have this opportunity, there's XYZ that I'm thinking I could talk about, but what do you think is most important for, this breadth of audience to know? What is the one thing that I should make sure that I talk about? Do you have other ideas, Mary?
No, I think you covered it pretty well, but even asking the question, that is really important, and thank you for that, to involve
Mhm.
your agency or community members, right from the start so that they are part of that process.
Mhm. Yeah. And, if there are ways that people could be part of the work that you all are doing or like an agency is doing, could be, important too, like having ways that people can support what I would say, especially as a former nonprofit person, like people can support community-based work, or be a part of it or learn is important. And we all benefit so much from networking as well. Let's see. Types of examples. Yeah, so people have presented things from their ILE work that they've done. I know I had a student, I work at M.P.H, who worked with us over the summer, and I was like, this could be something that could be a poster. Things from people's, I guess that's an Apex, I'm sorry. I forget what the acronyms mean. Tutor Apex with me. Things like that. Uh, People have shared, I know there were some folks who presented about work to pass, like smoke-free campus. Is that at like Minnesota State Mankato? Like people have done that too, like kind of more of like a practice-based experience. Like we did this project and this is what we learned as well. Lots of ideas. What advice would you give someone who feels imposter syndrome? Yeah, yeah, totally. I think practicing is a big thing, and like you don't have to know everything. And people are there because they want to support you and want to like hear from you as the expert. I think, especially at this conference, like I've never seen anybody like really interrogate somebody. Like it's really about just like a space of like learning and support. Um, I have found practice to be like the biggest thing for me. Be very clear about like my role. Like what do I expect for myself to know and do? And what do I say when I don't know? So that like I've had moments where it's like you kind of just like black out because you're just like it's stress or you're just like in the moment, right? But then because I've thought about it and I've practiced and I know that this is information that I know, I kind of have like that default, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's helpful. I'm happy to talk to people about presenting, facilitating, things like that. Did you want to say something, Mary? Is that why you have your hand up? Because go for it.
I had a question actually whenever you're
Oh,
ready.
okay. Then please go for it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Off of
yeah.
that, I'm thinking personally about where my hope for research will be in May.
Mhm.
How often
Yeah.
do you see research presented that's mostly done in progress, but still has more that you want to do and keep evolving with versus
Yeah.
saying like, wait another year, present later when the
Ooh.
research feels more complete?
Mm. I don't know that we as the committee know that much about where people are at. I mean, I've certainly seen people say like, we just wrapped this up, like we're wrapping up our work on services for folks and treatment or whatever. And like, we'll be presenting the findings from that. I think, you know, if somebody submitted and then it got closer and I was like, oh, this is not gonna work for me for a variety of reasons, they can let us know. I think I don't have a real good answer for that, but like, it's really, do you feel like you can engage people with where you're at? And like, it also might be like exciting in some ways to be like, hey, like, this is where I'm at. And like, this is an opportunity for me as a presenter to also like get guidance and feedback and have people like participate in, you know, where this is headed moving forward, if that makes sense. Okay, I was like, it's not a clear answer. We're almost done. So I'm gonna, we have 4 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna say if you have any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat or you can email them to Mary as well. And then I'm gonna say these couple of things, and I think Ilhan, were you gonna close us out? Is that right? We have a lot of meetings coming up for MPHA. Like I said, you are welcome to join really any of these groups. These are all available on our website. I mean, I love membership and communications. I'm a co-chair, but I also super enjoy the annual conference planning committee. It's just such a wide group of people. The person who taught my environmental health class when I was getting my MPH has been on the committees, and that was fun to be like, I never, like, here we are, we're like working together. I'm still learning from you. It was lovely. Happy to encourage people to do that. And all right, I will pause here if Ilhan or someone else wants to hop on, or I can keep talking.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, thank you all for joining us today for this collaborative event between MPHA and MPHA. We hope you found today's discussion helpful and relevant to your work and passions in public health and in the world of maternal and child health. Also, a special thank you to our presenters, Ellen and Mary, for sharing their expertise and valuable perspectives. Both of y'all contributions have truly enriched our understanding and provided us with ideas moving forward, especially as a person who wants to get into more research. I really appreciate it. Yeah, as we wrap up, we encourage you to stay connected with both MPHA and MPHA to engage in events like this for students, professionals alike. This is an opportunity to share knowledge and also ask questions in addressing all of our passions and work concerns regarding the future. So if you have any questions, feedback, or if you'd like to connect with us further, please don't hesitate to reach Ellen and Mary at MPHA and also us at MPHA. We would love to hear from you. Stay tuned for our upcoming events in the next semester. And thank you again for making this session a success.